I've got a thing to show you today. A technique. Let's call it a technique. I guess it's a technique. And, okay, we're at kind of a strange angle. Sorry, it was just kind of the best I could do for this. Let's call it Weird Angle Wednesday. Yeah, it's not really Wednesday, but you don't know that. Well, you do now that I told you, but we can pretend. Let's pretend it's Weird Angle Wednesday. Okay, today on Weird Angle Wednesday, we're going to make some of these, this type pattern. Sometimes it's really subtle, and then sometimes you get these real big things. I don't know what this is called. I heard a watercolor artist one time, I heard her call it, she called them blooms or blossoms, and I kind of like that, so I've been calling them water blossoms. I don't know if it has a name or what, but it's just that that thing that happens when you put water on paint that's dry, water-soluble paint that's dry. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And I had been making these accidentally off and on for quite some time, but never really paid attention to exactly how this happened. Then when I paid attention to how it happened, I was like, oh, it's like a technique. You can do this on purpose. So in case, you know, you're like me and didn't catch on to how this happens, I'm going to show you because it's super simple. It does take some prep work. Hopefully over the last, you know, week or two or so, you have been making some watercolored background papers along with me, or you've been using some of your dye ink pads or re-inkers to make these pretty backgrounds. Okay, those are what you're going to need to start with. You need a completely dry piece of paper that has been colored, painted, whatever, with something like watercolors, dye-based inks, anything that will reactivate in water is what you need. Permanent inks, not going to work. Acrylic inks or paints, not going to work. You need the watery stuff, you know, the watercolors, the dye ink, that kind of thing. So get you some background papers, and this is a great thing to do with those backgrounds that didn't turn out quite like you were thinking they would. This will fix them for you. And you're going to get your work area wet, so line it with paper. And what I usually like to do is just put some extra background papers down because the ink is going to, and the paint is going to bleed through, so you can color some extra papers while you're at it. So I've got some of these are scrapbook paper sheets that I use for blotting, and I'm just going to lay these down so that our ink will bleed on them and just color them some more. So you start with some paper. Then you're going to want something painted. And let me show you what we're doing here. We're going to take, let me show you on this one. Okay, this page, this was done with the dye re-inkers that I showed the video just a few days ago. It was the one where I was trying to use up my old dye-based ink pads that had gone bad. Okay, that's what that was colored with. And this page was almost exactly like it. They were both from the same book. And then I dropped some drops of water on it. And it's still wet. I just did it a few minutes ago. But you see how it made the water blossoms? Cool, huh? It's gonna, these edges are gonna lighten up quite a bit when it dries, you know, because it gets lighter as it dries, but it's still gonna have that blossomy effect. And that's all you have to do is drop water drops on these papers, and it does this all by itself. So it's like no effort, no skill required. You got some that turned out a little muddier than you want, I'll do this on them, they'd be fine. So let's drop some water on that one and I'll show you. You can just wet your hand and do this, that's fine. You can You can use a spray bottle, but it tends to, I don't like the fine mist. I like the big drops. So I had this plastic bottle, which I think used to be a spray bottle, and then the sprayer, you know how sometimes they just give up on life, and it had internal injuries. It couldn't be saved. I had to ditch it. But the bottle was still good. So I put this little glue bottle cap on it, and that just makes it really easy to kind of shake out big drops of water. You can do a lot, you can do a little, and then you can see it kind of starting to change. Well, if I had a better camera and lighting, you could see it, but you're just going to have to trust me. It is changing. It's kind of bleeding out the color and making it pool around the edges of the water droplets. You see? And underneath, see, I'm getting the bleed through ink, so that's why you want something underneath to catch that extra ink or watercolor paint. And then you just set it aside to dry, and you have instant stunning background. Let's do some more. I've got several different kinds of these papers laying around, so some of them may work, some may not. I am not sure about this because this is glossy coated paper, like from not a magazine. It was a book page, but it was glossy. It had a picture on it. So I don't know if that kind of paper works. Let's just see. It was the dye-based re-inkers that I used on it, but you know, I don't know. Okay, we're not going to sit here and watch this. We're going to let it either do its thing or not do anything. But while it's thinking about what it's going to do or not do, let's just move on. What else have I got? Oh, this one. Look, this is a muddy mess, which I happen to think is really nice. I like a good muddy mess. I love the dark, rich colors of the mud. But let's see if it will do anything interesting. Some of these I have used and reused and blotted so many times that even though they look like they're dark and full of color, they're kind of really not. It's hard to explain. I've kind of leached out all of the extra color that was in there, and they've done what they're going to do. This one is going to work. I can see it. So, put it over here. And let me do this one really heavy. Let's see what that does. This was a hot mess. Rip that paper right in half. Another small one. Oh, I don't know about this one. This was a blotter paper dictionary page. I don't think it has a whole lot of ink left in it. Okay, I've kind of covered my little surface here, so what I'm going to do is just put another layer of kind of plain drop paper, scrap paper, blotting paper, whatever, right here, and then keep going. Kind of let everything bleed onto each other, because that's fun, right? I have some background, some blotting, what am I trying to say? Drop papers. Let me try, let's try this one. It has a lot of color on both sides. Let's see what will happen. Some of these I've had sitting around for a while, and I can't remember what kind of paint is on them. So, yeah, they may not work. We'll just see. Okay, I'm going to put some more plain paper. I say plain paper, these are just really small pieces of drop paper. Like that. Then some more bleedy paper on top. And let's try, oh, look at these. These two are nice and dark. Okay, let's do big blobs on that one. And then let's do little blobs on this one. Layers. Scrap paper. Ooh. Okay. I don't know about this one. This is a very large piece of paper. It's a big real estate plat, which I have a whole box full, thanks to a friend who used to work at a real estate office who saved these from the dumpster when they went all digital. And she later gave them to me, and I will love her forever for that. But it's got a lot going on all over it. Let's just sprinkle on here and see if anything happens. Okay, let's do more layers. And here's another piece of drop paper. This is a road map. Another thing that this works really well on is coffee filters. These coffee filters had some of that ink from those dye-based ink pads on them, and I just did what I'm doing right now. Sprinkled them with water after they were dry, and they bloomed. Look, it's inky flowers. I think they're just beautiful. I don't know. Maybe I might be the only one. I don't know, but I just love this. So, those are very cool. Okay, you can see our bleeding going on. This makes me so happy. I've been just doing this for weeks with ink and watercolors and all kinds of stuff, and it just makes me so happy. They just all turn out fabulous with such little effort, and I'm all about great things that take no effort. Okay, this one. The other part of that scrap. And if you don't blot with some dry paper in between, then yeah, you're going to end up with kind of a sloshy, watery, hot mess. So this step is kind of important unless you want to just sprinkle and then lay them out someplace to dry, which is perfectly fine. But doing this kind of changes the look up a little bit, and it can be a pleasant surprise. I kind of like this because, you know, you don't know what's going on underneath there until you get done. And then on occasion, what I'll do, if I've got, you know, like a big stack here, I'll just take and flip this over like that. And relayer and keep going. Kind of crazy, right? Here is another drop paper. It has a lot of ink on it. Actually, was that paint? Watercolor? No, I think this was the stamp pads. I think this was the dye ink. And it's kind of halfway, huh? Okay, is that enough for now? I think it is. Cover that up. Let's flip again. And let's see what we got. Okay, these were some of our blotter pages, which are now going to have more interesting bits on them. This is another blotter page. And ooh, this one had a bunch of water on it, so it's got like one huge blossom. It's almost like, look, it's a mushroom cloud explosion. Yeah, that's what I see right there. Okay, that's doing cool stuff. And these were our first two, I think. And even our little scrap did something fun. Now once these dry, some of these, they may fade out to where you can barely see them. Oh, gosh, the other side's better. Yeah, they do really weird stuff after they dry. You know, like this one had light colors, so I didn't really think it was going to show up good, but it did. But then some of the others with darker colors, they didn't show up nearly as much as I thought they would. So you kind of never know. This one didn't do anything really. I think it just picked up more muddy colors. That's okay, because it's still a working piece. These are some more of the blotters. These didn't get a whole lot of water through them. Oh, look, there's that one on the slick paper that I was thinking might not do anything. It did a little something. Okay, good to know. I can do some more of those. This one, I really thought this one was going to do amazing things. I don't think it is. It's not really bleeding out like I thought it would. Okay, we'll see. More blotting papers. Oh, now see, you could just never get that on purpose. I just think it's beautiful. Put it against that one. Let them get to know each other. Now, oh, these are fun. Look, it looks like something you'd see under a microscope. They're petri dish papers. Oh my gosh, I love them. Those are so cool. I'm so easily entertained, it's not even funny. I don't want to bleed on this one too much because I like its pattern, so I'm going to put some paper in between. Now, that's pretty. There's that other scrap. Some like these that have a lot of ink on them and that bleed really well, I'll sometimes just lay them on top of a plain sheet of paper, sprinkle water on, and just let them bleed through, knowing that this is probably not going to be a, you know, a fun yay piece of paper, but the one underneath will be, because all of this ink will bleed off onto it. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Some of them I use as bleeders. We'll just call this a bleeder. That one. The sun is moving, and I think we're getting glare now. Oh, look at this one. Ooh, yeah. Okay. That's pretty. These are just some of our blotters. We have bleeders and blotters. This one did nothing. I think it bled onto its blotter. The bleeder bled on its blotter. I'm so sorry. Sometimes it just doesn't take much to really crack me up. But I really love it when my bleeder bleeds on the blotter. Oh, this one actually did a little more than I was expecting it to. I don't know if you can see it because of all the print. But it did blossom. It's blooming. When bleeders bleed on the blotter, they make blooms. It's just going to get worse and worse. I've got to end this video before I just totally embarrass myself. Oh, that one's nice. That one is nice. Oh, and the back is even better. Look. Because this is probably the front. Because, you know, I flip them, I lose track. Okay. Well, even that one did a little bit. That's surprising. I didn't think it would do much. Let's see. Yeah. We got some nice bleeding on the blotters going on. Okay. I'm going to let these dry and try to regain some composure. And then we'll come back and take a look at them after they're completely dry. Okay, once the papers are all dry, then I go through them and decide which ones made good blossoms and which ones need to be run through again as either bleeders or blotters. And these all, nothing really spectacular happened on them. So I will use them again as either bleeders or blotters. That one's not too bad, but I think I could probably get something to bleed on it that had added some color, because it needs more color. Remember this one? I thought this one was going to be great because it looked really awesome. When it dried, it did nothing. All the blossoms disappeared. It's really weird. So yeah, I'll go through and reuse these. And when they get to the point to where like they won't bleed anymore, nothing's coming out and they're not creating blossoms, then I'll either use them as is or I will put them in another stack that I have for papers to be painted over again later. So yeah, everything gets used eventually, just in different ways. So these, nothing really great happened with these. Even this one, which I had such high hopes for, yeah, it was just a big dud. But a lot of color came out of it, so I'll use it as a bleeder again another time. So I'll hold on to those, and these are the ones that I liked. And there's always usually just very few that out of each stack that come out, and I'm like, oh, it's perfect. I want to keep it just like it is. That's why I do so many at one time. So here we have the ones that turned out in a way that pleases me. And I'll call these finished and use them in a something. I don't know what. I'll figure that out. This one didn't really have any blossoms on it, but I just really liked the colors and the patterns that it picked up when I used it for blotting, you know. I really like that. So I want to keep it just like it is. I love that. This one, I was kind of on the fence. I think I'm going to run that one through again because I think it could use something else. I just love the light, subtle colors in this, and I want to keep it just like it is. This one I love. This one is just really strange. It doesn't have much on it, but what it does have, to me, is perfect. It's just perfect. I mean, it just needs some light pen work, maybe, and I'm calling it finished. I don't know why, but I love this. So I'm keeping it. And this, a lot of these papers that I use for blotting are scrapbook papers that came out of paper pads. You know, there's always the few patterns in there that you're not really crazy about. And this is one of those that I liked just fine, but I was just never able to use it. I don't scrapbook. I don't use a 12 by 12 layout for anything. So it didn't get used. So I put it in this stack of papers to paint on. And I really like the way these blossoms turned out, and I like the way they turned out on here. Like I could use part of this page like this, or at least just the birds and the way that they're colored with these blossoms. So yeah, that's a keeper. And this one I decided was a keeper. It's weird. It's got the weird little speckling down here, and then the blossoms are really light up here, but I like it. So I'm going to do something with that. This one is just fabulous. And I love how the fronts and backs, I never can remember which is which, but sometimes they're really different. Depends on how thick the paper is. And then this one, which I love. And this drop paper turned out great. It's hard to see anything on the printed side, but on the non-printed side, it shows up well. So, there you have it. Now you know that bleeders plus blotters plus blobs of water equals blossoms. Who knew? The end.